Wordle is just a baby, and already getting old. It's quick and undemanding, something you can easily fit into your daily schedule. But the novelty wears off. And so we got multi-word versions, like Dordle and Quaddle and Octodle, the annoying crosswordle, the annoying by design absurdle, themed wordles like Bardle and Ludle, number-oriented wordles like Muffler and Nerdle, and even stranger things such as Cemental, Wordle, and Flaggle. The world collectively rediscovered Find the Secret Thing puzzles, as if 20 questions and Mastermind never existed. Or maybe they just skipped a generation or two. And now it's time for them to come out of the earth and fly again. Some people think Wordle is too easy, which is not unreasonable. Intelligent minds with a decent vocabulary will solve most puzzles in 3 to 6 guesses. However, is it really that easy? How much is lucky guesses and how much is skill? What are your chances against the Wordle world champion? I wish I had enough friends to actually answer these questions, but all I have is this old laptop. So I did the next best thing. I wrote some code to approximate a human player, a naive yet consistent Wordle player, which starts with a random guess and then picks a random word consistent with previous answers. This will be our baseline human, a simple, no-nonsense girl. Simple, but highly effective. Here NC solved the puzzle in 4 guesses, which is actually her average. This histogram shows the number of guesses in 2000 naive games. NC used 4 guesses 40% of the time, and 3 and 5 25% of the time each. Her exact average is 4.1 guesses per game. I'm no better for sure. I'm rushing through the technical details, I know. But I want to convey the ideas without getting bogged in details. Rewind and pause are always available in Tubeland. And how does Dab Dab, our Wordle wizard, top NC? With smarter, targeted guesses. In this particular puzzle, only 8 words remain after the first guess. Anger, infer, under, enter, sneer, inter, never, and nicer. And anger is not a good guess. 5 words out of the 8 give the same 3 exact hits. And never and nicer also give the same pattern. Enter is much better. Only 3 words have the same exact 3 hits. And the other 5 words have a unique pattern. Enter is the best guess among words from this list. But our world champion will go for Vista. Each secret word gives a different answer to Vista. So here, Dab Dab needs just 3 guesses for any remaining secret word. It's easy to see why Enter is better than Anger, and Vista is better than both. Good guesses partition the remaining valid secrets into thin slices. The more the merrier. A large slice hurts twice. Anger leaves a 5 slice 5 times out of 8, while after Vista, it's game over. Unfortunately, Vistas are rare, and Dab Dab typically needs to decide between, say, partitions 2235, 1344, and 11127. It's not obvious which one to choose, but there is an excellent heuristic backed by serious math. Pretend that each slice can be solved efficiently by yes/no questions. That is, a partition of size 2 requires 1 guess, size 4 2 guesses, size 8 3, and in general, a partition of size n requires log n base 2 guesses. Using this assumption, we can compute the expected number of guesses required after any specific guess. It is the sum of the probability of being left with each slice times the number of guesses needed to solve that slice. Formally, this expression is known as information content, but I think it is easier to understand it as the expected number of guesses needed to filter a list down to 1 word. We compute this information content for each word in the pool and pick the word with the lowest value. We do this every turn, even in the first. The best first guess under this information content heuristic, and for the New York Times words list, is raise. Dab Dab always starts with a raise. This histogram shows the number of guesses needed in 2000 Dab Dab games. And as you can see, Dab Dab needed 3 guesses about half the time, and 4 guesses 40% of the time. Dab Dab average is 3.5 guesses. Now, 3.5 might not seem like a huge improvement over 4.1, but let's put it in context. There's only so much space between 1 and 4, And we do need to filter 2300 words down to 1, so half a guess is quite a lot. But how much exactly? Let us turn to a better, more honest way of comparing performance. A competition. Imagine NC and Dab playing a game where both are given the same puzzle, and the winner, the player with less guesses, gets $1 from the other. Nothing happened on ties. What is Dab expected win amount per game? This amount, the average amount won per game, is how we quantify the advantage of one strategy over another. And the number is 36 cents per game. 36 cents. More than $1 lost every 3 games. Slightly better than being a 2-to-1 favorite. And for those of you familiar with the ELO rating system, 0.36 is equivalent to rating difference of 131 ELO points. To summarize, in Wordle, the game, a naive wordsmith is a 2-to-1 underdog against a top-class professional. And this kind of concludes my introduction, because what I really want to talk about is multi-word Wordles. And to do that, we need to understand plain, single-word Wordle. So, let's dive right into my first ever Dordle game. The additional complexity jumped at me right after my first guess. Do I go after left, where I know 3 letters, or right, where I know only 1 letter? Or maybe there's a middle road, a guess which will serve both? I went kind of halfway, with a word containing an R and an N. From there, I went after right, and eventually, when I knew both words, it was too late. I was 1 guess short of the limit. This additional element, the need to juggle the needs of 2 words, affects any player, including NC. NC, as you remember, picks a random valid word as the next guess, and now has 2 sets to choose from, valid words for left and valid words for right. One special case is obvious. When you know a word, enter it right away. It needs to be scored anyway, it always costs 1 guess, and you might learn something useful about the other side. But in general, is it better to go for the smaller side, the side with less options, or the larger side? Or maybe combine the 2 and pick a word from the whole set? It turns out the difference is not earth-shattering, but it's definitely better to go with the larger set, the word you know less about. Picking a word from the larger list is about 6 cents per game better than going with the smaller list, and 1 cent better than the 1 bag approach. 22 and 3 ELO rating points difference, respectively. That settles NC. Now, what about Dab? Luckily, it's only a small adjustment from Wordle. In Wordle we seek 1 word, in Dordle 2, so we can use the exact same method for pairs of words. If there are 3 words for left and 6 for right, that means there are 18 possible solution pairs, and each guess partitions those 18 pairs into subgroups, just like in regular Wordle. Here, for example, the guess exists splits the 18 pairs into 4 groups of sizes 6, 6, 3 and 3. The partitions are scored using the same information content heuristic, and Dab picks the guess with the lowest score, the smallest expected number of guesses needed to complete. Here is how Dab tackled my first Dordle. 5 guesses. 5 guesses is in fact quite close to Dab average, 4.83. NC average is 5.6 guesses, so the gap is slightly bigger than in Wordle, but we know averages are only indicative. The real question is, what is Dab competitive advantage over NC? And the answer is 49 cents per game, 186 ELO points difference, a 3-to-1 advantage. Dordle is a harder, more difficult game when we measure difficulty as the gap between a good amateur and a professional. The larger the gap, the more difficult it is to master the game. So, what will happen in Quordle, the 4-word Wordle? Care to guess how much harder it is than Dordle? Pause for a moment and write down your guess. Here's my first Quordle game, and to be honest, my last. I played it just for this video. I took the lessons of Dordle to heart and went after the top left word, the one I knew least about. I got lucky in guess 4 direct hits in the lower right, and got 3 words in succession. Unfortunately, I got no additional letters in the top left. I had an L and an A, not after the L. But most letters were gone. I stared at it for a while and managed to find the legal word, which luckily turned out to be the one. I was quite pleased with myself, and even more pleased to see that Dab needed only 1 less, 7 guesses. The feeling dissipated when I learned that NC also needed 7 guesses most of the time. And this led me to a small surprise. The advantage of dab-dab over NC in Wordle is, here it comes, 49 cents per game, exactly like Dordle. The two, game-wise, are equally difficult. 2 equals 4. And now the real kicker. In Octordle, the 8-word Wordle, dab-dab advantage is 31 cents, 113 ELO points, even less than Wordle. And for the scary Sedecordle, the 16-word Wordle, which doesn't fit even on the widest screen, the advantage is 15 cents per game, only 53 ELO rating points, roughly a 4-3 favorite. Now, what the bleep is going on? The bigger the game starting from 4, the easier it is? How can that be? Let me put all the numbers side by side for you. The difficulty level of Wordle, as measured by the skill gap between an amateur and a professional, is 135 ELO points. Dordle is harder, 186 ELO points. But Wordle, with double the words to find, is the same as Dordle. And Octordle, with 8 words, is easier than Wordle. And Sedecordle, with 16 words, is 2 to 3 times easier than the single word Wordle. But why? We can get an idea by looking at an NC Wordle game. After the first 2 guesses, Heist and Karma, Alley is the only valid word for the top left. NC scores that, and now each of the remaining words have 4 possible secrets left. After guessing Flick, Crust and Click are certain, and after scoring both, only Quiet and Unite remain possible for the bottom left, and NC got this 50-50 chance right. Do you see it now? With 4 words, there is a bigger chance that one of them will be revealed in 2 guesses. And then the rest falls like dominoes in a domino run. And the more words there are, the better the chance that one of them will get resolved in the first 2 guesses. In Wordle it's just 13%, 1 in 8. But in Sedecordle it's the reverse, 7 times out of 8. Here's another way to look at it. Think about the ridiculous 2315 words you mangle. There's no skill left. Every guess is a sure hit. This is, in short, the multi-word Wordle story. Wordle is almost perfect, and there is Dordle for those who need the extra challenge. Anything bigger is too much. That said, there are caveats. First, all the numbers and averages and histograms that I showed assume that all variants, written and maintained by different people, use the same 2315 New York Times words list, or something close to it. I know this is the case for Wordle and Wordle, but not sure about the others. This matters, because a larger pool of secret words definitely affects the difficulty level. I replicated some of the experiments with larger lists, and verified that the main result, the ELO difference between the various urdles, remains about the same. Second, I pretended to believe that NC is a reasonable proxy for a human player, but that can't be. Obviously no human knows or remembers which 5-letter words are in the New York Times list and which are not, and all variants happily accept words not on the list. So this is one advantage NC have over mere people. In addition, no human knows exactly which word has more remaining options, as NC unfailingly does. Altogether, NC is probably better than very accomplished humans. Furthermore, most of us probably perform worse in Wordle, Octordle and Sedecordle just from mental fatigue. The number I gave are for Wordle as a strategy game. It's hard to estimate how good people are. We need to factor imperfect memory, concentration, frustration, putting the child to bed, and so on and so on. What makes a human player good, on top of their ability to focus, is to a large degree how good they are in controlling their emotions. And that applies to Wordle and any other game or sport. In summary, while Wordle and Dordle are kind of a small neat logic puzzle, Octordle and Sedecordle are more like jigsaw puzzles. Not as demanding mentally, but time consuming, where the joy comes from the sense of completion. So, as one human to another, Wordle, Dordle or Sedecordle, pick one or all of them, and ignore the bots. It's your friends you need to impress. And just keep playing.